Kind of high. Let's see. Where did my phone go? Alright, is this thing public? Public. See if I'm visible on YouTube. So, all right. So, since I have one viewer, it's been so long since I've done a live stream, and I feel like they have. So long since I've done a live stream. Yeah, it's me. And I feel like they. So long since I've done a live stream. Yeah, gotcha. Anyway, all right. Let's see if anybody joins up, wants to chit chat about some horror. Post on YouTube. See how that goes. Two view hairs. All right, who's here? Who's here right now? Then we can you hear me? I believe so. All right, Mike Duvall. Sup, bro? What's going on, homie? So yeah, I don't know. I just was a little bored. Figured I'd do some sort of live stream or something like that. We'll, just chit chat, maybe talk some horror, stuff like that. Playing Madden. Have you played? Which I like Madden as well. I don't play as much as I used to, but have you played the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game yet? What up, Pop Culture Massacre? How's it going? Hey, Jerry, what up? What's up, Jerry? Hey, I just went and watched Old Boy in the theater, and I am like 1,000,000% sure that it is not a horror film now. So I just reconfirmed that by seeing it in the theater. Okay, yeah, the TCM game, it's pretty fun. I've only played a handful of games. It's pretty fun though. What's up, Mason? Not much. I'm going to go see it this weekend, and it is a horror film. It was cool seeing it in the theater. I think I got to the last showing that was playing in my area, so I went and did that last night. It was pretty cool. What are the two movies for the podcast that you're doing? I've been watching some stuff lately. Last night I watched House by the Cemetery on 4K, which is pretty awesome. This is a film that when I first seen it, I was like not too crazy about it, but I've probably seen it literally like 6 or 7 times since then, and I've liked it more and more every time. So you watched House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts. So both Dark Castle, was it Dark Castle Films that did those remakes back in the day? Um, I actually like both of those films a good bit. House on Haunted Hill is fun, but 13 Ghosts I think is it's actually funny that you even are doing that, because today I believe it was announced that Dark Castle is hoping to do a TV series based on the 13 Ghosts movie, which is really cool because I know that so many people have rediscovered 13 Ghosts. I'd say over the last like 5 or 6 years. I remember when I first started doing like YouTube and podcasts and stuff. Like that movie was not liked. Like nobody talked positively about that movie or House on Haunted Hill or any of those like early remakes before like Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003. Nobody really talked about those movies positively. And then for whatever reason, it's like over the last 5 years, I've been seeing people share memes and stuff about 13 Ghosts like so often. And I've always liked it, but it was cool seeing it sort of get a second life. Sunday is supposedly National Cinema Day, so $4 movie theater tickets. I think I go see Jurassic Park. Yeah, I did see that they were showing Jurassic Park today at my theater. I do the AMC A-list stubs thing, so uh, basically I could see 3 movies a week and it doesn't cost anything besides the $22 a month. I try to see more movies than the cost of the thing, which most of the time I do. Late this month I've done good. The last couple months I did horrible. So they won the game that month. The last couple months. Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy. Jerry says, yeah, 13 Ghosts. It's such a creative. Um, I like. They could have just been any ghost, right? Just 13 different ghosts. But it's so creative that they gave each of them like a backstory that you don't even know really, but you could just tell by looking at them. Except for like the jackal, because what the fuck is that? But the jackal is obviously like this goddamn scary as hell. And then Matthew Lillard is fun in the movie. It's a fun movie. I like that one. Uh, you didn't like the last voyage of the Demeter. Didn't do better. Oh, you're disappointed that it didn't do better at the box office. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me necessarily, because I feel like the promotion almost made it look like a slight action film, which it really wasn't at all. And I feel like they didn't really like it didn't seem like it was going to be like this artsy film, which tends to be like what a lot of the big box office horror smash hits are. They're either very artsy or they're very teen friendly. And it didn't seem like either of those. It seemed like grown up horror, but it also had some action. I don't know if the marketing was great on that movie. I thought it was pretty decent myself. But us who saw it in our early teens from renting the VHS are now 30s. So we're speaking about it and it's getting a resurgence in love. Yeah, I agree. That's probably what is happening with 13 Ghosts and those films is, I rented it on VHS in 2001 or whatever when I was 10. So, yeah, now we're all in our 30s. So it makes sense why people are starting to love it. Whereas the people who were around, 10 years ago when I first started in their 30s, those guys were born in the 80s, and by the 2000s they were in their like 20s and thought that modern horror sucked. So, yeah, it does make sense. Um, the backstory for the jackal was insane. Yeah, I did read that there was like a lot of actual thought put into each of the characters, and I don't know if it's in the special features or like in the original script or what, but yeah, that stuff's cool. It actually makes sense for a TV show, right? You do like 13 episodes, each one tackling the different ghosts, and then do like a final episode or something. I think that would be a cool way to do it, but you know, Jerry didn't like the last voyage. Um, Nobody knew about it. I feel like it didn't really see any ads for it. I saw a good bit of ads for it, but mostly like in the theater. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool idea for the episode, Jerry. That's neat. I like that. That's cool. Um, I saw that, to change the subject a little bit, I saw that Kino is releasing the Elsa films in a Blu-ray box set. And I think that is so awesome. That was that like every year I think of I used to do this yearly. I used to make a video every year where I would talk about 10 movies that I want to see like get put on disc or something like that. I haven't done that in a long time. But pretty much like from my original list, like almost everything has been released. But every year there's like new stuff added to the list if things have been released. And the Ilsa films were like one of the last things on that like original list that I did, I think, because that that shit I just didn't know if it was ever gonna come out. Because I think Anchor Bay did that original like box set of it, and then like Cheesy Flicks released some of them on DVD with horrible transfers. But I mean, Cheesy Flicks, who even knows if those were legit licensing deals, or if they just released them and expected nobody to notice because they're such a low company. But the that's a cool. Wait, is it 4K? Is the set 4K? That's pretty crazy if that's the truth. I've never seen Ilsa, the Tigress of Siberia. I've only seen the She Wolf of the SS, Harm, Keeper of the Oil Sheiks, and Wicked Warden, which really isn't an Ilsa film. It just stars Diane Thorne. I think that was that Jess Franco who did that one. But that's really not an Ilsa film, but it's pretty much an Ilsa film. You know what I mean? Uh, what up? Can't wait for the podcast to come back. Hope you had a good summer. I didn't really have a good summer, but I'm excited for the podcast to come back too. I don't know when it will. I don't know what will. I assume like I'm supposed to go to Wasteland in at the beginning of October. Moods is supposed to go to Wasteland. Dave Parker is going to be at Wasteland, and then a bunch of the homies listeners will be at Wasteland. So that will be sort of probably when we return, probably after Wasteland, maybe a little bit before. Uh, what's JP Helwani saying on the live? You're funny. Uh, that's been worse this summer of 2023 horror. Um, Honestly, or what's been worse, horror has been pretty weak this year for me personally. I think we got spoiled a little bit with I mean, you go literally from like 2013, even though like 2010 is a very good year for horror that just sort of nobody realized at the time that it was such a good year for horror, but in retrospect, it was like a massive year for horror. But 20 go from 2013 to like 2021 and you have literally like such a great like handful of years. I think maybe 24, yeah, I mean 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. I feel like those were all like fantastic and then sort of dropped off a little bit in 19, 20, 21. But like I look back at some of my favorite films in the last decade, and they're literal bona fide classics. You know, everybody mentions the Hereditaries and the Midsommars and the Get Outs and the Us's. But even when you go on like a more independent level, there was such good movies that came out. Starry Eyes comes to mind, The Invitation, um, just so many amazing films. That I mean my list looking back on some of these lists they're insane. There's so many good films that came out during that time. I mean even when you go like there's like years where there's movies in my like number 6 spot that could be a number 1 film in another year. Like stuff like Rent-A-Pal, right? Like I that is such a good movie. But like the year it came out, it was like my number like 5 or 6 even though it maybe could have been a number 1 somewhere. One film that made my top 10, my number 1 spot was the Golden Glove, the Golden Glove, and nobody really even talks about that movie, but I think it's amazing. Um, yeah, this year's top 10 would honestly be at this point like 90% theatrical releases, stuff like Scream 6, Scream 7, 6. Wait, 4, 5, 6, 6. It would be Scream 6. Um, Stuff like that, or like Cocaine Bear or something. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that the last chunk of the year, September, October, November, December, which usually those are the best months for horror. So I'm hoping that these really are a good last couple months to sort of up the year, because if not, it's going to be all theatrical again. I haven't seen much. I haven't seen much streaming. Like usually, Shutter had like there was a couple years where there was like one or two films every year on list that came out through Shutter, but they've really been putting out like just very mediocre stuff lately. The last couple years, even Netflix was putting out some good stuff that made my list, like the Alexander Aja film, uh, Oxygen, I believe it was called, and then the Platform from the Spanish film from a few years ago. Both of those made my list. Um, there was another film too, like an Australian flick that made my list too. Um, and then yeah, it seems like non-theatrical VOD stuff has been very lacking. The volume is still there, but the quality is mediocre. Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, I know that there's like a writer's strike going on too. That could be affecting stuff, but still, I mean, I think that would only affect stuff coming out in the future, not really stuff that came out earlier this year. Um, what's happened to Shutter over the last year has been really sad to see. I know if they ever lose Joe Bob, I will be extremely, extremely sad. That's pretty much the main reason that I have Shutter, like, is for The Last Drive-In. I'll keep it all year long, even though there's only one main season and a couple of specials. But I'll keep it all year long just to support, because I love Joe Bob and The Last Drive and Darcy and all that stuff so much. It's so good. I watched them. I unfortunately never get to watch them live, but I always go back and rewatch them. And this past year, I actually did the entire run of the first event they did. That was like 5-year anniversary for the 24-hour movie marathon, and I watched all those, and those were awesome. That was a great lineup, great programming there. Yeah, and I actually feel like the Joe Bob seasons are getting better and better. Like they did, I actually like what they did this past season, where like a lot of times they will do themed episodes, but it seemed like they really focused on doing themed episodes this year, and I actually like how they split up the season into two halves, because it made it feel like it lasted longer. Um, what else here? Shutter has fallen into. Oh yeah, hopefully VHS 85 is good. Yeah, I can't believe how many of those there are now. But yeah, hopefully that's pretty good. Shutter's fallen into a lull from nosebleed seats, man. They're just adding low grade terrible stuff and buying rights to good stuff, but not putting it up on the actual app. I would be pissed. Every time I see what's on Screenbox, I consider making the switch. But Joe Bob keeps me low. Yeah, Joe Bob. I mean, you can't. That is Shutter at this point. Now I know they're releasing Creepshow season 4, so that could be cool. The Creepshow Christmas special that they did was like one of my favorite things they did. That was fun. Also, Screenbox. I actually am subscribed to Screenbox. It's a pretty good service. I mainly got it just to watch the. It was a documentary that came out. Maybe it was like the Robert Englund documentary or something. But they've done a couple documentaries that are cool. I think they did a Pennywise one. But another thing cool that they're doing is they're getting like some Indian stuff too, some stuff that you can't find other places. Like they put the Indian ripoff of Scream up on there, and the Indian ripoff of Fright Night, and the Indian ripoff of, or Bollywood ripoff of another film, but I can't remember what it was. Um, but I think that's cool because that's just stuff we're not exposed to very much. And I recently, if you watched my update, have picked up this box set here, which is the Bollywood horror collection, which is pretty cool. I have seen Mahakal, the Freddy ripoff, and I like that movie. It's pretty cool, even though it's a little long and a little too much singing. But it's kind of what you get with Bollywood. You know what I mean? Saw 10 looks like to be a solid top 3 for the year. You know what, man? I often resisted the Saw films for most of when they were coming out. I love the first one. What I remember I rented Saw and 28 Days Later in like 2002, or well, I guess it'd be like 2005, 4, 5. I don't remember. I think Saw came out in 2004, right? So probably about 2004. I rented both of those films and watched them in the same night. And I remember just being like, that was so different. Like horror is about to change right now. Because I had kind of fallen out of horror a little bit at the time. And I just remember being blown the fuck away from Saw and 28 Days Later. And then Saw 2 comes out, I really liked it. Saw 3 comes out, I really liked it. And then I kind of got burnt out on them, but it was still cool because my generation, the youth that I was around, really loved the Saw films. It was like every Halloween, everybody wanted to go see Saw, which was cool because normally my friends weren't into like horror. Um, and then Paranormal Activity came out, and we all know the rest of what happened with that. Sort of bumped us off from the October slate that they dominated. Then Paranormal Activity went on to dominate it, and then we really didn't get a replacement after that. But we watched all the Saw films for the podcast, I remember really um, enjoying them, even though they're convoluted as hell. Don't get me wrong, I like them. And I was thinking, I think I'm gonna watch all of the 9 Saw films before I go see the new one this October, this September, October. So after I finish up, what up, Lacey? After I finish up this 31 days that I'm still doing from last time, I might start watching the Saw flicks again. Damn, dude, wearing Beats in 20. You know what's funny about that? These Beats are old as hell, bro. Like, the earphones are like falling apart. I've literally had these since I started podcasting, I think. I actually had to replace the wire a couple times. Um, let's see. The themed episodes are great. It's a neat way to expand the idea. Mofo, I made the Helwani joke on purpose so you'd know it was Mike. Oh, I did not know it was Mike. I thought it was like Hilltop Hoods or something. Damn, dude. Tubi is killing it, though. I've watched more Giallo on Tubi than I have in a long time. Hey, I love Tubi, bro. Like, one thing that Tubi has that not a lot of, well, nobody else really had is like 90s and 2000s animal attacks movies. Like, Tubi is like the best place for that. Like, if you like the stuff that aired on Sci-Fi before the Sharknado era, before the Mega Shark era, if you like the stuff before, and it has that stuff too, but if you like the stuff that aired on Sci-Fi before that, Tubi's a good place to see some of that stuff. My beats still work great. Yeah, I mean they work fine. It's just they're old. Saw franchise is fun. They deliver on what they're there for the most part. I agree. I've only ever seen the first Saw. Well, now, hey, Saw 10 is coming out. Maybe it's time to watch all the Saw films. Be warned, they get very confusing. We are going to do that too. Cool, Lacey. That's awesome. You guys had Freddy and Jason. My generation had Jigsaw, Jeremy the Jew. I mean, it's true. That was our generation. We had Jigsaw. I mean, I had Freddy and Jason too because they were still popular when I was like 3, and I always loved them to death. So I've had those the whole time. But the best part of Beats was replacing the wire. Best idea ever. Yeah, agreed. Are you guys gonna do the stage show soon? Well, see that the stage show was something that was suggested to us last year, and we just had a shorter season than we normally do, so we didn't really get to any like of the other ideas we had. But I want to make it a point to when we return. Our first show back is going to probably be the top 10 of 1980. And then we have a bunch of other shows planned that we had planned last year that we didn't get to, that maybe we'll do those. But the state show, I definitely want to cover in this season. And I'm not really sure how to tackle it yet. I'm not sure how much we need to prep for it because I don't really want to watch like 100 or 150 movies for it. But I think it'll be more of like a casual thing. Like, hey, like, okay, Pennsylvania comes up. What we nominated, 3 choices: Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and like My Bloody Valentine 3D or something. And then we talk about each of those films and what they like. Do they represent the state? And I would probably settle on like Dawn of the Dead, honestly, because I feel like it encapsulates like Pennsylvania, and especially like how you have like the city, but you also have like rednecks hunting at the in the city, like in a close vicinity. Like it doesn't, you can kind of go and see both of that not very far from each other. Um, and it's our mall. That's my mall that the movie's set in. Um, So something like that. But some states, obviously, it's like, okay, what's gonna represent Hawaii? Jack Frost 2. You know what I mean? It's a bit tough, but it should be fun. Um, is so okay. The best part, okay. Tubi's catalog is so ridiculously deep. Half the time I open the app to watch something, end up writing out a list of 10 other. It really is. It's a deep library. I like just throwing something on if I'm like tired, like don't feel like putting in like a Blu-ray or something. And what I used to do all the time was go on to Shudder's live TV thing and just play whatever they had on there, because I like just starting in like 20 minutes into a movie that I've never seen and like watch it. And then it reminds me of like when I was a kid where you didn't have the opportunity to just watch horror all the time. Like if it was on and it was 20 minutes into it, it's like that was still great because it was something horror. And it sort of recaptures that feel. But sometimes, a lot of times now with the Shutter, it's like stuff I've seen or stuff that I'm not don't feel like watching, or something that's like subtitled I'm not going to watch like when I'm trying to fall asleep. But with Tubi, I like just scrolling through and finding some movie from like 2006 that I've never seen and throw it on. Um, Only like the first Saw. Jigsaw never lost his training wheels for me. Man, see, I love the Saw movies. I think like what they're like Mike was saying, like what they're great for what they are. Like they're just gory. They're convoluted. They have like tons of you expect some kind of twist, and it's like Shyamalan but hella gory. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, most of this stuff doesn't make sense the deeper you go into the story, but Saw 3 and Saw 6 are actually like pretty solid movies outside of that stuff. Um, Same dude, my 2B watch list is out of control. Do you reckon the Hellraiser Quartet of Torment is worth picking up? Dude, you know what? That box set kind of pisses me off a little bit. So, the one thing that I like about it is it supposedly is having the work print cut of Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. But my thing with that box set is based on what I knew. So, Hellraiser 1 through 3 are owned by one company. And then I believe Hellraiser 4 and beyond was owned by the Weinsteins. So to me, and I know that the Weinsteins film library has sort of went different places after the whole Me Too movement and Weinstein getting like absolutely fucking imprisoned, you know what I mean, and the company falling apart, which is like a good thing anyway because they were horrible with their properties. But also because they at least Harvey was a piece of shit. But from what I understand, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 should have all went to the same place, I think. So to me, if you have access to 4 now, because when they put out the Scarlet box, they didn't have access to 4. Now they have access to part 4. That tells me that you would have access to part 5, 6, 7, 8, probably. Maybe not. I could be wrong. But let's just say they do for sake of argument. I think that they should. I'm hesitant to buy a box set that has 1 through 4 if they're going to put out a box set that has 1 through 8 next year or something. You know what I mean? Because that shit tends to happen a lot. You know what I mean? And I hate that stuff. But and honestly, personally, like the Scarlet box for Hellraiser 1 through 3 is pretty good. It's decent. You know, it's enough. So if I'm gonna be buying another box set just for part 4, I'm glad that it has the work print, but I would have rather bought a box set that had 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8 or something, because to me those movies are more interesting to learn about anyway. In terms of, I already know everything. I know everything about Hellraiser. I know everything about Hellraiser 2. I've watched Leviathan, the documentary. But those later sequels are more fascinating to me. So that's sort of where I was coming from with that box set. But I still will probably get it because I want to see that other cut of part 4. Because we know that that has like a ton of history with how it was produced, and the Weinstein's like mingling with it, and the director taking his name off of it and stuff. I think it's an Alan Smithy film, right? Okay, let's see here. Tubi is the best rabbit hole to fall down out of all the streaming services right now. I agree. Bring on a guest who's a resident a resident of each. You know, I thought of that, dude, but I just think it's too hard. I don't think we know enough people that would be. I don't know a single person who lives in Hawaii. Uh, Enough of this mall shit. Let's see the pecker. What the fuck? Jeremy's an idiot. I love to talk about Children of the Corn. I mean, I wait. Why is do you wait? Is that from where you are from? Children of Corn, Nebraska. Um, Shutter should make a Last Drive-In Last channel where it plays the entire run on loop. There's enough eps to do that. Oh, for sure. I actually have every ep except for the last Walking Dead special they did, but everything else I have from the original 24-hour marathon to the entire last season. I have it on a hard drive because I revisit those often. I really do. Like anytime I'm watching a movie for something, like if it's a podcast or something and it played on the last drive-in, I watched that episode instead of the movie. Um, Hell yeah, there's Jeremy, live channel. What's up, Ellen Degenerate, aka Jeremy? I only care about Hellraiser 1 through 4 anyway, so I'm happy. But there's no fun in that. Maybe they will split the box set like Scream did with 4K Halloween franchise. Now that, Jerry, I would be cool with. That would be if they're doing like 4 and then 8, sorry, 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8. I think that would be cool. I would actually like that. 2 Torment box sets. That would be the way to go. I like the comeback that Scream franchise is making. I never would have expected it since Wes is not here anymore. Most popular horror franchise right now. Hey, I love it, dude. It's so funny when I hear people go see Scream and they're doing the same shit, and I'm like, bro, it's Scream. What are you expecting, dude? Like, do you go to Scream and expect to see like Halloween or something? Because then maybe watch like H2O. But if you go in to see a Scream movie and you get a Scream movie, like, yeah, is it absolutely ridiculous that this many people, what is there, like 9 killers now in the franchise or something? Like, yeah, it's completely ridiculous. But that's what it is. Like, you know, you should know that going in. You should know there's going to be like 2 more killers, or there's going to be 3 more killers by this point in the series. And if you buy a ticket to go see that, you should be expecting that at this point. If it's not for you, that's fine, but don't get mad that you're getting a Scream movie. I'm doing snore in my head. What? Boy, I haven't missed this. I haven't missed what? I'm not sure I'd want all the other Hellraisers, frankly. And would anyone really bother to add the extra 5 onward? I'd expect a bare bones release. See, but that's where I think you're wrong though, because just because, like, dude, most of the people who don't like those sequels haven't actually watched them, or watched them when they first came out and was expecting a Hellraiser and didn't get a Hellraiser, similar to what I was saying with Scream. But if you actually watch those movies and you actually give them a fair shot, they're kind of interesting. They're really not as bad as, and you have to also separate the fact that they're not really Hellraiser movies, and for the most part they were just other movies that Pinhead was sprinkled into. Now, that is the rumor at least. Now, Scott Derrickson, I actually asked him if that was true about Hellraiser 5, and he said no, it was always written as a Hellraiser film. I'm not sure I buy that, but I actually think that they're fun. And if they were bare bones, that would just piss me off because that's the whole point of releasing them to me. At least give a commentary. Anybody can do a commentary. There's no real excuse not to have a commentary. Oh shit, Jerry is here. I gotta go. I agree that the behind the scenes for Hellraiser later entries is super interesting. Thanks. Jeremy taught me to dislike franchises. I used to be a completist no matter how bad later entries are. Not anymore. I'll only purchase the ones I actually like. But see, I think that's where I think that, like, whenever you have a long running franchise, that's when I find it's like the most fascinating, because it's like, oh, like, what were they thinking here? What were they thinking here? Like, why did they go this route? It's just, I don't know. It's like fascinating. Um, Not necessarily the movies might not be, but that's the cool thing too. Is like when you have a long running franchise like Children of the Corn or something, right? Like Children of the Corn 1 is like, it is what it is. Like some people like it, some people think it's dated. I think it's great. Children of the Corn 2 completely like tongue in cheek almost. Like, yeah, Wicked Witch of the Damn West shit going on in here. It's ridiculous. They turn the whole idea of the first film into ergot mold, and basically it's the whole film. First film is like a hallucination, basically. Nothing supernatural was actually happening. And then like Children of the Corn 3, they're like, let's go to the fucking hood, and it's like that's different. And then Children of the Corn 4, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Children of the Corn film, and they just turned it into one. And then like 5 is clearly influenced by like the Scream-esque slashers of the time that are ridiculous and it's bad. And then part 6, they're like, let's try to do something, uh, you know, more in line with what Children of the Corn is, but let's, since we're Dimension, and we're the Weinsteins, we're like piece of shit, and we're gonna just fuck everything up, even though we brought John Franklin back. And then part 7's like, oh, we need to keep the rights to this, so we have to make another Children of the Corn film every so many years, or else we'd lose the rights. So let's just throw something together. Same thing with part 8, and it's like, but those ones are actually kind of interesting films, like they're not Children of the Corn movies, but they're one's like an apartment haunting film almost, and the other one's like creepy, like stuck on the side of the road, like let's go into this old couple's house film. Um, anyway, I digress. Jeremy, I will throw a Game Boy Advance at you. Isn't a where am I at? It's a fight for the ages. It would be great, but would anyone bother to create new docs and shit for those films? Is the market big enough for that? Big enough for what though? Is the market big enough to talk to somebody who worked on the film and interview them? Like, how much money does that cost, really? You know what I mean? Yeah, like if you're making a big, expensive documentary, sure. But if you find, Joe Blow, who was in the fucking movie and, hasn't acted in 10 years, and you're like, hey, what did you think about working on this film? Oh, it kind of sucked. Like, oh, elaborate. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't got to be crazy. Expecting a Hellraiser movie. Well, that's what I felt when I watched the new Hellraiser that had a bunch of money behind it and a good director. Scott Derrickson. Was it Scott Derrickson? I think it was Scott. No. fuck, what was his name? Scott Derrickson is the dude who did part 5 or whatever. I forget the guy whoever made the new Hellraiser. He didn't seem to understand what Hellraiser was. Um, you just said the opposite about Scream. I didn't say the opposite about Scream. I'm not okay, you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying going into a Hellraiser movie and expecting a Hellraiser movie is a bad thing. I'm just saying if you go into that with these films, they're gonna disappoint just because they're not Hellraiser films. But if you go into them knowing that and just disassociating that, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that you have to do that. I'm just saying if you do that, then you'll have a more positive experience with them. Man just said the opposite about this. Dude, you're tripping, bro. JP, to be fair, I think that's also what makes you and Parker moods collectors versus me just buying what I really love. Yeah, probably. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the films. Some are bad, some are interesting, but I feel like whoever owns the rights are going to have to decide if the fan base is big enough to bother with the extras. Did you ever get a chance to see the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey film in the theaters? I did, and I thought it was kind of fun, but kind of stupid too. Hellraiser 17, everyone's soul has been torn apart. Uh, no, probably not. That's kind of go see who made that doc on YouTube, which I used to do a lot. Is anybody playing the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game? I have played it a couple times. I think it's really fun. It feels a lot like the first game they made, the Friday the 13th one, but not, but a little bit better, I would say. Um, it doesn't feel like you have to rely as much on teamwork, which is good for somebody who doesn't have a lot of friends who play games, specifically like games like that, and not just Call of Duty. But oh, David Bruckner, thank you so much. That's the guy who made the new Hellraiser. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty fun game. I would love to get a group of like listeners and like friends together to play like some games one night. I think that would be really fun. Um, I wanted to like the new Hellraiser. The lore was good, but yeah, the movie was meh. I like that even the chat knows that Jeremy is a total. It was meh. Herring agreed, but Venom loved it. Venom's crazy, dude. I just thought I thought Dave Z loved it too. Made his top 10. I just thought it was like, dude, if like everything that was said about the new Hellraiser before it came out, like I was like, oh, that's perfect. Like it's done by David Bruckner, who's a fan of Clive Barker, who gets the source material. I was like, we have a budget. It's not Dimension. It's gonna actually be about Hellraiser stuff. And then literally none of that was true. It literally felt more like a Dimension Hellraiser ripoff Hellraiser film than it did one of the first two Hellraisers. You know, it just didn't. It literally didn't have like any of the stuff that I love about it. The first two Hellraisers. Um, Venom is smarter than me, so I'll listen to him. All right, I'm going back to disappearing for another 2 years. All right, peace, Jeremy. I'll see you in Chicago. He's not smarter than me, then. Jigsaw should hire Pinhead to set up some traps for him for Saw 11. Dan Chase has the TCM game. Play with him. I will. Only Jeremy would chime in with a like count and then bounce out. Classic. Yeah, 22 shots game night would be dope. Things don't change. Oh shit, the 616 is here. What up, moods? But anyway, what I was saying was, hold on, I gotta put on like the football game or something. Isn't it started? Uh, but the whole that yeah, like that Hellraiser film, I just didn't. I thought it was a complete miss, dude. Most disappointed I've been in a movie in years. Um, me and Carly are going to the with Dan the cameraman and Jeremy and I guess Taylor will probably be there. The 24-hour music box thing that Jeremy always went to. We're finally doing it. So That's what I'm doing there, but I think that's after Wasteland. I think it's a couple weeks after Wasteland. Yeah, so yeah, I wanted to do that marathon forever. 22 shots can show up for this live but not record an actual episode. Tried to talk myself into doing Music Box of Horrors for 2 years now. Yeah, dude. Well, you should do it. It'd probably be fun. I mean, yeah. Oh, I already got my hotel booked and shit for Wasteland, dude. I got next week. I have a trip to out by like Philadelphia for that drive-in that we always go to. Um, Camp Blood. This is the ninth year. Camp Blood 9. They're showing. Actually, let me see if I could pull up what they're showing. So it's a decent lineup this year. A little disappointed because a couple of the films I've seen already before at honestly some of them at there, but it's a it's a pretty decent lineup. If anybody's out in that area and you're gonna be there, definitely hit a bro up. So yeah, they have this is the lineup this year, which you guys can't see, but it is Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, Madman, which I've seen both of those already on the big screen, Neon Maniacs, which I haven't seen, Sleepaway Camp with Felissa Rose in attendance, which I've actually seen there. I've seen it twice with Felissa Rose already, I think. So this will be like my third time seeing it with Felissa Rose. Sleepaway Camp 2, now that's a title. Sleepaway Camp 3, that's another title. And then the third night is When a Stranger Calls, Stepfather 2, which I love, and Blood Beach, which I've seen already. So I'll probably skip I'll probably leave before Blood Beach, but should be a really fun show. And I'm going to then a couple weeks later is the Monsterama out here, which has a couple like Humanoids from the Deep and a couple other things that I want to see. And then I believe then a couple weeks after that is Wasteland, then Chicago. So got a couple busy months coming up here. About to roll solo to Wasteland. Everybody should come to Wasteland, bro. We had literally last year was so damn fun that I made I burst my blood vessels in my eyes. It was so fun. My eyes, the blood vessels in them completely shattered. Couldn't take it. I believe Tyler will be there. There's everybody that came last year. I think is going to be there. Parker, plus more. So should be fun. I can't. I'm going to Buffalo for the home opener against the Raiders. Wife going to be one of 4 Raiders fans in the whole place. Oh yeah, you're meeting Dave. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. Josh Allen further regressing in 2023. Mike is talking shit on Josh Allen. Moods, get him. Moods, you better film the meetup. We filmed most of the meetup last year on Dave's camera, and we all look like drunken idiots. Stepfather 2 gets better and better each time you watch it. Carolyn Williams is the best. Yeah, I really like Carolyn Williams. I wish she got more roles because honestly, Carolyn Williams is like a very like decent actress. Like she did really good in that one movie that came out recently too. The 10 minutes till midnight or something like that. 12 minutes till midnight or something. You know, that was pretty cool. And then she like I like her in Leprechaun 3. I think she's great in Leprechaun 3. But yeah, Stepfather 2 as well. Last year was a trip for show. Might be bringing my girlfriend this year too if she makes up her mind. Is that Tyler? Oh, you meant the Dave Z meetup. Yeah, they should do a little video. That would be cool. We were all drunken idiots. That was a great Wasteland. I wish I could. I wish I could be there again. If I lived closer, I'd be at every one of them. Wait, are you not coming to Wasteland this year? Or are you talking about like how they do 2 shows a year? If you're not coming to Wasteland, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. What? Are you serious, bro? What? What? Why? Why? Brutal. I had no idea. Dang. Um, yeah, come to the marathon instead. Dang, that sucks. I'm sad now. Yeah, I mean, like with I imagine it's super expensive, dude. Coming from all the way across the country and up to like all the way across and up another country. Um, that's disappointing. Well, we're gonna have to bring the podcast back then. This hat it says never sleep again, or no, it says welcome to my nightmare. It's a Freddy hat. It has Freddy underneath. Now I don't care about the Dave Z meetup. Dang, bro. Dang, boy. That sucks. Um, what else is going on? Uh, well, if a diehard fan like me, money doesn't matter. Once in a lifetime game since the wife is down. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's cool, dude. I mean, Aaron being a big Raiders fan, you being a Bills fan, home opener, like that's a fun experience. I'm not hating on that at all. That's cool though. But we're gonna have to get back recording then or something. Uh, I thought Kenny Pickett looked pretty good last week against the Bills. I gotta say. I'm curious to see how Kenny Pickett's gonna be, man. I really do. So I went to ADW Dynamite show that had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, that's cool. I saw they were doing that. That's neat. I know that. I know that it's so funny how big of a crossover pro wrestling and horror is. Like it seems like if you're a fan of pro wrestling, you're also a fan of horror movies. It really, I've noticed that forever that there's a really big crossover between those two. Tiny Hands Pickett. Listen, bro, it ain't the size of the it ain't the size. I got tiny hands too. It ain't the size of the hands. It's the um, it's other things. Sunday the 24th would work. Pick. Maybe. I don't know. What, dude? You're a fan of Washington, the commies. Like, I don't think you have a voice. When's the last time that Washington did anything? Was it like the mid '90s? um, well, the Bruins really fucking dropped the ball last season, man. That's cool that they donated all that money. Yeah, I mean, hockey, dude, hockey's something, man. It's been some interesting seasons. Sam Howell. I'll bet you right now, Mike, that the Steelers end with a better record than your Sam Howell led commies do. Oh, I'm just hanging out, doing a little live John with the homies. Carly's like, remember on AIM when you would log on and the door would open? Carly's door just closed. Their core was too old for a playoff run, too beat up. I don't know, bro. I think they just dropped the ball, personally. They had the best record in hockey. Broke the all-time record, bro. What was your icon? Snore. AIM always had the lamest icons. I can't even remember, bro. That was so long ago. I just remember the sounds, like the sounds, like boop, boop, that sound when you got a message. I could like still hear it in my head, and the doors opening and closing. So Carly, how about Moods isn't making it to Wasteland this year? I had no clue. Sad, sad. I'm sad. You know what that means? No Moods, no Aaron. So you're gonna be the only woman again. Talk to me. Okay, mini talk to me review. So, a couple things that I liked right away. I felt like the teenagers in the movie actually felt like teenagers. They felt real. Now, maybe that means that the target audience, they made them feel like teenagers from my youth because they didn't really feel like teenagers from the current youth, but maybe it's different in Australia. I'm not sure, but I love that about it. I thought it took a concept that we've seen before, sort of like the possession film and stuff like that, cursed object, different stuff like that, but it made it cool and interesting. They expanded and did something different. I like how the practical effects were great. You had actual scares in the film, not just and the scares looked like practical effects too. It didn't look like just a bunch of like zoomy, like flashy, smudgy ghost projectile phantomy things, like how a lot of movies these days are. It definitely, it's like you could tell A24 made it because it took a simple movie that would just be a generic, teen film and made it a little bit deeper. And obviously, you have some cool themes in there, themes of loss and trauma and post loss syndrome stuff, which is cool. The music was good, the score was good. Right now, it's probably one of my favorite films of the year. I thought it was top notch. Carly didn't like it because she sucks. Um, 1.5 women forgot about me. Yeah, maybe Taylor will be back. That'll be cool. Damn, Jeremy, you don't have to rip yourself anymore. The score was really good too. F you. Yeah, Carly's a fake horror fan. You guys like my Nightmare on Elm Street posters? Pretty cool, huh? I don't have part 6 though. Um, she does have more horror tats than me. Yeah, I know I do know that now that you mention that. I forgot about that. Um, yeah, it does Blumhouse via A24. Um, it's funny. I heard they made a prequel already, which is sort of the Pearl syndrome, the Ty West syndrome, the Ty West method, if you will. The Ty West method, making a movie before your other one, making a sequel before it even releases. I think that's a cool idea, and I wish that more people would do it. Thoughts on Exorcist Believer? Okay, so I'm back to watching trailers again just because I don't feel like running out of the theater like I used to. Um, so I did watch the trailer. Um, I actually think it does not look bad. I know it's getting a lot of hate, but I thought it looked all right for a sequel to The Exorcist. I mean, we had those already. Um, most of them aren't very good. I thought that it was like, okay, this is cool. I like the stuff that people talk about when they say like fan service. I actually like that stuff. Like I like seeing the original actress in there. I like seeing photos of Linda Blair. I think that it adds it instantly connects it to the same world. Um, do I think it's going to be like great? No, but at this point, I'm just hoping it's not like bad. You know what I mean? Because like I there's certain films that are just like you're never going to top Jaws, Exorcist. Um, So I'm not expecting it to be anywhere near The Exorcist, but maybe we can get like some cool shit. Which at the end of the day, that's all we really want is some cool shit. I mean, like, what do you mean by that though? Like, it looks like a typical modern hollow possession movie, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. So like, I mean, it's gonna look modern because it is modern. So there's that. I don't really know what like like what specifically do you mean looked like hollow? What does hollow possession movie mean? um like yeah, it looks it's not as like I don't know like the original is I mean the original nowadays if you did that stuff would look like a it would look like modern like what you expect out of possession films essentially, you know what I mean, like the vomit and the things that Linda Blair's character is saying. Look, I don't know, man. I was expecting it to look like way worse. Like I thought it looked like okay, like I don't know even the like the distorted faces and stuff look kind of similar to the type of face that Linda Blair had, right? Like I looked at the poster the other day while walking in the cinema yesterday, and I was like, wow, those actually kind of look like how Linda Blair looked. If you ain't gonna film it on a VHS potato camera, then I don't want it. What's next? Crazy Fat Ethel 3 in the IMAX? I don't think there's enough interesting DNA in The Exorcist to actually do much else. Probably. Like there's just nothing to the story or characters, just the same predictable tropes, no death, no layers. I think the difference is like the, what they did kind of interesting is the whatever entity that's possessing Pazuzu or whatever that's possessing these kids is possessed two of them. That's kind of interesting, right? That's something different. Two kids instead of one, and also it seems to be the same one who possessed Reagan, which adds some interesting aspects to it. I mean, it does look like a sequel, though, Mike. Like it's clearly designed as a sequel. We have carryover from the original, but I also am not. I don't like hold like I don't hold films from the 70s and 80s like the originals. Like I don't hold them in like a secret compartment where they can't be messed with. Like I don't care. Like do whatever you want. The original still exists. It will always exist. None of the sequels or remakes or anything ever affects my like of the original. The only film that it ever really did that with was maybe Bride of Chucky, because when Seed of Chucky came out, I hated it so much. When I went back to Bride of Chucky, which I always really liked, I could see the foreshadows of what was coming, and it made me like it a little bit less. But that's pretty much the only example I have of that. I wouldn't say that it's just using the Exorcist name to bring attention. That would be like if they just called it the Exorcist and it had nothing to do with the Exorcist. Sort of like Hellraiser 5 that we talked about earlier. um, I'm not against the classic being messed with, but if you want to attach the name to your movie, then expect a certain standard to be reached with your product. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Um, but again, it's just the trailer. I think I was expecting it to be a lot worse looking than it ended up being, too, um, because of because of who was involved, and I really don't like. Let's be real. I mean, these movies are made. These movies aren't made for Mike Merriman. They're not made for your JP. They're made for the new generation. So there's going to be things in there that the new generation likes. Like if you talk to most kids who are, 17 or so, most regular kids, not kids who grew up with film fan parents or anything like that, just kids outside of a theater, they pretty much all like the new Halloween trilogy. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to sort of accept that things are different. You know what I mean? And things are geared towards certain groups and demographics, and they're going to not be what you like. Advanced audiences also tore it apart. Dude, listen, those advanced screening things, bro, are the biggest crock of shit in the entire Hollywood production system. I've heard so many times that I've heard it work in both ways. I've heard it work where a movie sucks and the test audience said it sucks, so they changed some things. I heard it where the movie was great but bombed in test screenings. Like some of the best movies bomb in test screenings. Like I think Trick or Treat bombed in test screenings. Most of the time they're getting these like literally, have you ever saw the movie This Film Has Not Yet Been Rated? I think they talk about it in there too. Like the people that they're showing these movies to are just random ass like mid middle class moms and shit. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't those test screenings are fucking horse shit, dude. Problem is kids these days don't really watch films. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like some kids, sure. There's definitely film fans that are kids. I didn't really watch movies when I went to the theater when I was in high school. I went there to like kiss girls or something. So I don't think anything's actually changed. It's just different eras. I think us old heads need to take that to heart. These new films are bringing in new generations' eyes to these films and are made for them, and we need to step out of the way and just let it happen. I agree. I agree as well, man. And it's like I remember the pure venom that was spit at the entire 2000 to 2010 era of films. Like if you were on YouTube in those early days of YouTube, like 2008, 9, 10, dude, no fucking person on the platform was saying anything good about the movies that were coming out, like Jennifer's Body and that's one that comes to mind. But even like all the remakes that were coming out last Hills Have Eyes, like these movies that nowadays people actually like they were hated so much it was ridiculous. And looking back, everybody just sounded like old angry men who were just like, get off my lawn, you know what I mean? We need a we need the new fans to keep the genre alive. Facts. Agreed. The test audience thing is terrible. Facts. Herring, I get all that, but that doesn't mean the movies aren't bad. If someone else enjoys it, that's cool, but it doesn't mean that affects what I think of it. I mean, yeah, that's fair and true. Um, and the cool thing about the and this is true. The cool thing about cinema nowadays is it's big enough to have something for everybody. There's going to be the A24 for the people like us who like that stuff. There's going to be the films that, like, to us, Friday the 13th and all those films that were coming out, the people at the time were ripping them apart. The older people saying, like, because they grew up on Universal Monsters, and their arguments were similar to that of what we have with like new teen films. It's a never-ending cycle. But the cool thing about the genre now is we have these different sections that has shit for everybody, and that's why I'm okay with having the Conjuring universe films geared towards the new generation, and then we have stuff like Midsommar that's clearly meant to be like a Wicker Man type of film that's more geared towards people who grew up on that shit of the 70s films. It Everybody can enjoy it. There's enough for everybody. I think for me, it's just that a ton of these reboots and retcon sequels are fine. They're average, not memorable. It's like, what's even the point? But at the same time, dude, it's like there's going to be kids out there whose first horror film was Halloween from 2018, and they're gonna look at that movie like it's the shit, and that it's very memorable to them. And I mean, I saw it when we went to go see the movie. There was like some little kids there, and I was like, dang, this is probably like their first like big horror film. You know what I mean? And they seem to love it. So it's like it's just not for you, I guess. You know, memorable to who? Memorable to you, memorable to the little kid who watched it there. Um, I mean, I'm sure that people were saying Friday the 13th Part 6 is not going to be memorable. Like, they're just trash. They're just made to sort of capitalize on the current climate of what people like. Um, I'm really enjoying going back and watching those gritty hardcore. Dude, I said the same thing the other day. Like, I'm literally enjoying what, and me and Jerry were just talking about that earlier in this live stream about the Dark House stuff from the 2001 2002 era and stuff like that. Like, I think that it's cool to go back and look at films that came out that you didn't like at the time, but it seems to be like all the movies that were coming out in the 2000s that didn't get love are starting to get some love. Don't bring that movie up around moons. I know, but they aren't most likely. They might enjoy it in the moment, but in 20 years, is anybody talking about Halloween 2018? I guarantee you they will be, because it's part of that franchise. Who even cares about Rob Zombie? Dude, dude, literally every week there is a Rob Zombie's Halloween post of October where somebody is talking about it, and the entire comments is people who hate it and people who love it. I think Rob Zombie's Halloweens are some of the most memorable remakes that they've ever done. Like, they're yearly watches for me. I think they're a lot more interesting than most of the Halloween films, and especially H2. H2 is the most unique film in the franchise besides Halloween 3. I actually had a good time with The Price We Pay that came out this year, had an early 2000 TCM reboot film. I didn't see that one. I'll have to check that out. Going back and looking at 1999, I realized it started fire that brought the horror back in the 2000s. Yeah, probably. Especially when I just watched Pulse for the first time last week. The Kurosawa movie, the Japanese film. And I know you're a big fan of that film, Jerry. And watching it was so interesting, just seeing like, oh, this was an era. This was you know, the films that were coming out at this time from Japan were interesting. And even though I don't love the Japanese ghost story films like Ring and The Grudge and One Missed Call and all those, like, I'm not a huge fan of them. I do really like Pulse. I think that one's really good. But uh, Pulse is. I did a review on it a couple days ago. If anybody's interested, I posted it on the channel. Yeah, depression, loneliness. It was good. It was a cool movie, and the '90s really kicked off. The late '90s really kicked off that whole theme, and there was a bunch of them that came out, like a ton. Um, but I like going back and looking. Like I just watched Let's Scare Jessica to Death, and like that film has a vibe and a feel of early '70s cinema, where it turned from the '60s that maybe started with like Night of the Living Dead or something. It turned into, and then later like Last House on the Left, it was turning into a different era of film. Uh, what else? If you can make time to rewatch Rob Zombie's Halloween's annually, you can make time to record more 22 shots. Um, well, I have time to record 22 shots. Moods and whoever else is on the show don't have time right now, so it's not me. Um, don't be a palsy. But yeah, the I'm reading this book right now on regional horror films. That's really cool. They mentioned Let's Scare Jessica to Death, and again, in that film, they talk about the shifting of the tides and um, the way that horror was and films were dominated by big studio productions, and we started to get sort of these indie films that came out, starting with stuff like Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast and the success of the drive-in, and that sort of whole era marched in like this brand new style of filmmaking, this independent stuff that dominated for the next like 20 years. Um, and then again, you look at the early '90s and the video store era of like Full Moon and Trauma. I just watched Poltergeist recently and was thinking about that. Um, the '90s video store direct to video titles, like the Leprechaun sequels, and like I said, Full Moon and stuff. It's Carly says, "Buddy, like it's a slur." Buddy, you can't read. Come on, man. Yeah, Jerry, we should do something together soon. Just grab some of us and make it 22 quick shots or something. It's called mini shots. Fuck. How would you rank Brandon Cronenberg's three films at the moment? So I couldn't rank them because I have not seen um, the newest one. I would go Possessor was the best, and then Antiviral. And like I said, I have not seen the new one, but I need to check that out before the end of the year. Uh, Carly says, "Buddy, like it's a got to keep him in his lane, Savage. Reading a book equals listening to an audiobook." You're not wrong most of the time, but this book I'm actually reading on my phone though, because the book, the copy. See, this is what sucks. I love physical stuff, but the book in paperback was like $35, but the Kindle version was 10. So I went with the Kindle version. But I was reading that book because it, and I haven't got too deep into it, but it says it's a state by state guide on regional horror films. So for me, the um, the show that we want to do with the states and stuff, I feel like this book might be beneficial towards that show. Possessor still best for me, then Infinity Pool, then Antiviral. Um, I'm hoping that Infinity Pool's good. I've heard very mixed things. I mostly read on Kindle. Unlimited is great if you want to read extreme horror splatterpunk. Yeah, I don't have an issue with Kindle and stuff like, and it is kind of more convenient because you don't got to lug around a book. But Charles Band's memoir he put out, did I? No, I didn't check out Charles Band's. I do love memoirs and biographies. Those are probably my favorite reading. I did listen to the audiobook of Don Coscarelli's, which I thought was really good. Um, yeah, Jerry, I do know that. Sorry about that. Hope you're doing better. Um, but the Don Coscarelli's book was really good. I like that one a lot. If you haven't read that one, check that out. But I do need to check out Charles Band's because I do like those kind of books. I love literature. Shut up. Do you read? Listen. Just finished my 2-year program, so I no longer have to get eye shots once a month. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Glad to hear that. I can only imagine what that was like, man. I uh, I definitely feel for you on that one because that's some horror movie shit. But yeah, I hope everything goes good with you with all that, man. It's like a Lucio Fulci film. I know, bro, dude. I and that's like another thing. I mentioned House by the Cemetery earlier. Uh, I've become such a huge Fulci fan over the last couple years. Like, I love Fulci's flicks, the ones that I've seen, which is a good portion of them at this point. Um, but like Zombie and House by the Cemetery, and City of the Living Dead, and Don't Torture a Duckling. Those have become some of my favorite movies, man. Final Destination. Speaking of Final Destination, I heard there's a new one coming out, which is pretty cool. That is one of my favorite franchises. I think those movies. I think you can literally make so many of them, and they never get old. I thought that. I think that I would like to see one of those like every year, bro. I could literally deal with a Final Destination every year. Oh, that's cool. I've been mostly catching up on like Stephen King stuff. When it comes to stuff I've been reading, I do audiobooks a lot. Carly gives me shit for it, but just more convenient with like work and stuff and my hour drive home from work. Um, but here's what I read this year. Let me pull up my audiobooks. So this is everything I read in like the last year. Um, Misery by Stephen King, pretty good book. The Stand by Stephen King, uh, probably his most overrated work. I would say it's pretty good, but I just don't think it's no it or anything. Gerald's Game, which I think is one of my least favorite Stephen King books. I think that it's just so long and drawn out, and also like uncomfortable. Fairy Tale, which was one of my favorite recent Stephen King books. That one's like a complete fantasy book, but it has some dark elements to it. Definitely really cool book. The Hellbound Heart, Clive Barker, which I've never read for the first time. That one's really good. Um, Joyland, which was a really fun Stephen King book. Not really a horror story so much, but it's about a kid working at an amusement park in the 70s. It's like the movie Adventureland. That I really liked that book. It was fun. I read Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino. That one was cool. Really sort of explained a lot about Tarantino. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I wanted to check that one out. Also, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I never read that. I actually read the book of that one because I figured I was like, all right, I'm in my 30s, such a huge horror fan, and I felt like it was wrong of me to have never read the classics like Dracula and Frankenstein. So I was like, let me start with Frankenstein. That book's really interesting. Um, like I said, Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, Stephen King's Full Dark No Stars, which I have read before. Scott Smith's The Ruins, which is the movie's really good. The book is like even more graphic. It's messed up. Mr. Mercedes, The Green Mile, and Finders Keepers. Those were all good. And then I also read Stephen King's Richard Bachman's book, Rage, the one about the school shooter. I read that on actual book because it's not available on audiobook or anything. Um, I've been I've been listening to a lot of books and reading a lot of stuff over the last year or two, um, which is cool because I always wanted to get back to that. I need to check out more Clive Barker because the only Clive Barker I ever read was The Hellbound Heart. So I do want to get into some more Clive Barker. What's your opinion on? I couldn't finish this. The faulty talk. Hold on. All right. The faulty talk made mood hereditary. Yeah, I couldn't finish the stand. Shit is bloated. It is bloated, man. It's very bloated. What's your opinion on upgrading Blu-ray to 4K? For the most part, I'm not doing it. Um, my opinion when 4K first started coming around was they were coming out so few and far between that I just bought everything that was coming out. Now I don't do that at all. So my general rule is that lately I don't buy a lot of stuff. I've mainly been buying like Vinegar Syndrome and TerraVision are like the two main companies that I buy everything they put out pretty much. Um, but when it comes to 4K, I will upgrade if it is a movie that I truly love, like Return of the Living Dead. Even though I didn't actually buy the 4K of Return of the Living Dead yet, but it is one that I will get eventually. And other than that, if I own it on DVD, I will upgrade to the 4K. If I own it on Blu-ray, only if it's like one of my favorite films or if it's like for example, I own all of the Argento's movies that have been put out on Blu-ray. But I also own all of Argento's films that have been put out on 4K that are available on 4K. And that's because Argento is a special director to me, and I think that those films are ones that I'm going to revisit time and time again. Same thing with Fulci, maybe some Carpenter, some Craven, like big directors that are staples in my watches. I will upgrade. There's a new Exorcist 4K coming out. I will upgrade to The Exorcist. I only own The Exorcist on DVD. I don't even own a Blu-ray of The Exorcist, so that's a perfect upgrade for me. Something like Friday the 13th, if a 4K set comes out, I would buy that because those are staples that I rewatch all the time. Same thing with Elm Street. But when it just comes to like um, some regular movie that I'm not even like a massive fan of, I'm not going to upgrade to 4K. Like what just came out from Scream Factory that was a upgrade that I there's a few Scream Factories that just were coming out that I don't plan on upgrading. Um, it was good, but a little overboard with the whole world building. I love Clive Barker books. Carly didn't even get out of the cockadoodie car. Yeah, but man, Frankenstein and Dracula are hard reads, though. Honestly, dude, I did not find. I feel like Dracula might be, but I did not find Frankenstein that hard of a read. I was like really invested in it because it was different than I expected. It was more like the Robert De Niro Frankenstein movie, where he like talked and stuff like that. I actually really enjoyed Frankenstein. Phantom of the Opera is a really good read. I didn't even know that was a book, honestly. I remember reading Frankenstein Lives for a book report in seventh grade English. Damnation Game, Mr. Begone, and the Books of Blood. Pumpkinhead. That's one that I would probably upgrade on 4K because I fucking love Pumpkinhead. Like Pumpkinhead to me is a absolute favorite of mine. It's in my top 50 of all time. Uh, I love everything about it. I think it's like such a creative movie. It's shot so well. The only knock on it really is that maybe some of the kids' acting isn't the best. Um, the teens that like run over his his fam, his spoilers if you ain't seen Pumpkinhead. Um, but yeah, Pumpkinhead is, and just the look of it, the atmosphere, the fog, the Ed Harley, Ed Harley. Did I say Hardy? I don't know, but is it Harley, right? Ed Harley. Yeah. Um, I'm such a big Pumpkinhead fan, I can't even remember the names. But the witch, dude, she's like so creepy, and like when you go into her little cottage and like she's just standing at the fireplace and you see like all the red embers like glowing through her white hair. Ooh, shit's creepy, man. I'm lucky because I stopped most collecting during the Blu-ray era, so most 4Ks I've bought haven't owned since DVD era. Is it wrong? I still really want a Night Terrors Blu-ray. What is Night Terrors? Is that a Robert Englund film? Not Robert Englund. Toby Hooper film. JP, what's your second favorite genre of film, and would you ever consider doing a podcast on cinema in general outside of horror as a sidecast? So we actually years ago talked about doing 22 shots episodes outside of horror and doing like Tarantino's filmography and stuff like that. My favorite genre, I don't really have a favorite genre outside of horror. I just like certain films. Um, I like war films a lot. Full Metal Jacket being my favorite. I like movies like Kids and Ken Park and like the Larry Clark films, and Harmony Korine films. I like other films like that, like Kidulthood and Manic and 13. And I like movies that sort of take a realistic look at kids and adolescents and like what they actually are doing, especially some of the ones that are like from the wrong side of the tracks. Um, I love all of Tarantino's stuff. I'm wanting to get more into martial arts films because I think I would like them because the ones that I've seen I pretty much liked. Um, I like sci-fi films of yesteryear, stuff from the 70s specifically. But I really like I love all cinema. Like I love films in general, like especially like great films, like some of the best ever. You know what I mean? Scorsese and stuff like that. Taxi Driver, um, like the best films that have come out. Like I like the history of cinema, and I like to go back and watch some of those that I've never seen. So I don't really have like a favorite subgenre outside of horror. I love all film, but just horror is much easier to be a fan of than comedies, right? um, JP, you guys got to do a episode on Brian Pollan's films. What did Brian Pollan do? Name sounds familiar, but I can't think of anything that he's done. So let me look him up real quick. Who is he? Brian. Oh, Pollan. Paul. Spelled it wrong. Oh, these are like low budget indie shit. Uh, Fetus, cryptic plasm, bone sickness. I own bone sickness. Yeah, I mean that's a guy we could do a couple of his films, do like a director spotlight on him. Not opposed to it. I'm sure Moods have seen these. Probably Dave too. Man, 13 I haven't watched in forever. The film is great. It is great. It's like an episode of Degrassi. Shaw Bros, post atomic bomb sci-fi films are so good. Yeah, I do like those. I just rewatched Taxi Driver a few weeks ago. That movie holds up so well. Cruising is also. I actually watched Cruising for the first time this past year, within the last calendar year, and man, that movie kicks ass. That is a good movie. Yeah, I like Cruising a lot. Um, 50s atomic sci-fi is my jam. I do, man. 50s atomic sci-fi is good shit, dude. Um, I love I love those like giant monsters or like giant fucking spite like them and uh all that shit that came out at that time. Those are all good movies. I like that stuff. Black Scorpion. Brian Pollan made Mood's top 50 directors if I remember correctly. That makes sense. Wu-Tang has a martial arts film on YouTube channel. They're always adding stuff on there. That's cool, man. I love Wu-Tang and their style and how they were influenced by martial arts flicks. Cruising got away with so much shit. It did, dude. That's a good movie. The King of Comedy is great. Dog Day Afternoon, Mean Streets. I've actually not seen any of those. Um, what up, Andy? How's it going, bro? Just doing a little live stream, man. Just having a little chat with the homies. Nothing too crazy. It's actually been a pretty successful live stream, if I'm being honest. Lot of cool, interesting conversations. Um, there's so much stuff I want to do on 22 shots that we haven't done yet. Like, bro, we haven't really done. Like, we did just do the Salem's Lot movies, but we haven't even done like an official like Stephen King episode. Um, we could still do another Cronenberg show. Can't remember if I've seen Motivational Growth. I definitely know that it's been on the podcast. It's been mentioned on the podcast. I've missed you guys. I've missed you too. You got to do this more often, dude. I can. If people actually watch it, I'll do it. I could do it once a week. You know what I mean? But I just don't want to do it if nobody's gonna watch and talk, because essentially the entire conversation is dictated by you guys. Um, Nightmare on Elm Street retrospect. Yeah, at some point, I do want to do that. I would if we do Nightmare on Elm Street, I would like to have maybe Dave Z on, even though he's talked about him a lot. I'd like to have somebody who doesn't like the franchise as much as me, because I personally like the whole franchise, besides the remake. And that one I don't even hate like some people do. I just don't think it's very good. If it's this time almost every week on Thursday, I could be here. Um, well, let me tell you, I hate the franchise. Yeah, I know. I know you do. Um, I love them. They are fantastic, especially like the first four. I really love. I think I watched one. What did I watch? I watched. Did I watch 3, 4, and 5 this year? See, that's why I think that. Dude, Andy, definitely go, because yeah, I'm going to Wasteland. Uh, I I'm going. Carly's going. Parker's going. I think Dan, the cameraman's going. Tyler's going. I think Jeremy's going. Um, who else? I think Taylor's going. I'm not sure about Taylor actually. She came last year. Um, I don't know if Mason's going to be there again, but we pretty much the whole crew that was last year, pretty much besides Moods, is going to be there. Is it possible to watch Freddy? I will watch Freddy's Dead for pleasure. I don't think it's very great, but I still enjoy it. um, and Mike, I don't think that the remake is terrible. Uh, I think people overstate how bad it is. Where I think it's like a 5.5 out of 10, probably. Um, is Pop Culture Massacre? Is that you? Is that Mason or Dan? That is true, Jerry. It was this one right here. I was watching this on VHS when I lost my virginity. All right, so Mason's coming. Yeah, Andy, definitely come, dude. It's gonna be a blast. We had such a good time last year. It was literally like one of the best things that I've done in a long time. despite Tyler being an idiot and dropping his beer in the middle of the convention hall on a carpet. What else? Yeah, I think I think Judy, who played, or the girl who played Judy in Sleepaway Camp, is going to be at Wasteland. I'll probably get her to sign my Sleepaway Camp poster right there that Felissa Rose signed. I'd like you guys to cover some Hammer franchises. That would be fun. We need to do Hammer and Universal Monsters. If we did Universal, I think the best way to do it would to be volumes, right? Maybe volume, and you do them in chronological order instead of doing like, because here's why you don't do it like Dracula franchise show, even though that, what is there, 2 Dracula films or something? Frankenstein franchise show, Wolfman franchise show, because they all cross over. So how do you, and it's all uneven. You're gonna have like so many Frankenstein movies and then like 2, 3 Wolfman movies that are this also part of the Frankenstein franchise. So I think you do it like 3 at a time and you do it in volumes. That's how I would do it. Now Hammer, you could probably do it more like just the Frankenstein movies, just the Dracula movies, just the Mummy movies, because they don't cross over. I think I'm just cooking some chicken breast and with some peppers and onions, um, and some French fries probably. Yeah, Tom Savini not as exciting to me because he's like literally everywhere here. um, Hello, Orc sent me over to check this out. Who the fuck is Orc? I don't know an Orc, but thank you for checking this out. Um, what else? Yeah, the Hammer stuff, that is something that we probably need to do. When we do our top 10 of 1980, I think the next year we're doing is a year from the 2000s. So it's not going to be something from the 70s or 60s. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do some Hammer stuff um, at some point. I do like the Hammer flicks though. I mean, you could do like the franchises, but you could also just do like, the other just Hammer films that came out. Um, yeah, that would be fun. I want to do another Jean Rollin episode too, probably, because I have most of his films now, and he's really fun. I would love to do some more like French cinema too. We covered a couple French films. I actually was talking about doing the Halloween franchise again. Um, we could just do a Halloween review of Halloween Kills and Ends, because we reviewed the original franchise and then we did a solo review of Halloween 2018, and then we never covered the last 2. So we could just do those 2 in its own show, but I think it would be more fun to revisit the whole franchise, um, to maybe this Halloween. I don't know, uh, because the first show was so long ago. It was in like 2013 or 4. I think it was 2014. That it would actually. It's been nearly 10 years since we talked about those films. I'm sure our opinions have changed. Well, I know they have, because I know Moods likes Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's H2 more. I know I do, and we shit on that film back then. So might be, if we do the other Halloween films that have come out that we haven't covered yet, we could just end up going back and doing the whole series, and maybe Dave Parker would be willing to do that with us. I still think the first Hammer Mummy is peak Mummy. I've actually never seen the Hammer Mummy films, and that is a subgenre that is like dead. That I would love to see more mummy flicks because I think the mummy idea is cool. But I do actually like the Brendan Fraser mummy film. I don't think I've seen the sequels, but the first one I actually like. Since y'all do horror reviews, you should review Old Boy. I just watched Old Boy last night. Um, and I was going to review it for my 31 Days of Horror that I'm catching up on from last year. That's literally was my intention. I was like, oh, I could just review Old Boy since I'm seeing it tonight. I'll do that one. And then when I got home, I was like, I can't do it because it's not even close to a horror film. Um, Hammer is pretty good. Love the Dracula movies. Yeah, Dracula's cool. I still think the first Hammer Mummy is peak Mummy. Yeah, I need to see those. The new indicator releases of Roland films are so nice. I have the Kino ones. Can we get another to Hip Hop Witch review? Fuck it to the no, bro. That was like one of the worst things ever. That's like literally one of the worst films ever. Have you seen the Bloodthirsty trilogy? I don't. I haven't seen them, but I own the Arrow release. I think it was Arrow. Was it Arrow? I think I own those. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do own those. Yeah, I own those. No, I'm wrong. I have seen one of the films in that trilogy. Oh, that was you, Jerry? Oh my God. Jesus. Hammer is pretty good. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, that commentary I think that commentary is still up on our website. Boy, that is such a weird thing that exists. The number of times I've been at work and laughed because I heard fuck Jerry is insane. Oh, that's good stuff. Had to be Jeremy. Had to be Jeremy. Um, here's another idea we had too. I want to do a cryptos. So we started doing the zoology shows, right? The first one was cockroaches, and we covered They Nest, Bug, and The Nest. And I think the next one was going to be cats, zoology cats, and then zoology dogs. And we had a bunch more planned too. But I want to do a cryptozoology show as well. And we could even separate it into categories like cryptozoology, Bigfoot, and do like Legend of Boggy Creek. Well, shit, you could do a whole franchise with that. But a couple Bigfoot movies, and then you could do like one on the Jersey Devil. You could do a couple volumes of damn Bigfoot. But or we could just pick three crypto monsters and do like uh, Legend of Boggy Creek, and then like the Mothman prophecies, and then um like a Loch Ness monster movie, and do like those three for a volume, and you could just do a couple volumes of that. Um, that's an idea we had. Uh, we could do. There's some franchises that we still need to do. That I would like to do, like Wishmaster, maybe would be fun. Um, there's a couple other ones. There's still a lot of franchises we haven't done. Psycho, we've never done the Psycho films. The amount of 70s B movies out there is ridiculous. Yeah, there's a lot of B movies. Violent shit. Oh my god, dude. Hall of fuckers, yeah. Those were good times, man. Amityville. Yeah, Amityville, I feel like we would do in volumes, like volume one, two, three, just cover the three at a time. We actually did review Demonic Toys. We didn't do the franchise, but I'm not really. That's not something that's high on my list because the first Demonic Toys is fun. The second Demonic Toys is horrible. I've never seen Doll Man versus Demonic Toys. And now they have spin-offs like Baby Oopsie and Jack in the Box guy. We could do the Evil Bong films though. I would do those. I had the box set sitting somewhere around here, but I don't know what I did with it. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Got this whole big ass thing here. It's pretty crazy. But I don't think it has the last Evil Bong movie in it. It has the High 8 one or Infinity 8 or whatever the hell it's called. It doesn't have that one in it. Has anybody seen this movie? I would like to do a Cube franchise show. We could do Cube, Cube 2 Hypercube, Cube Zero, and Cube the Remake, which is the Japanese remake. I thought it was alright. It wasn't. It didn't. It wasn't like great or anything, but it's alright. Kind of weird to see Japan remake an American film. That's weird. All right, got to go. Got to make dinner before I record tonight. All right, peace out, Jerry. See you next time. I don't know if I could do the Camp Blood movies. No, this is the new Cube, Mike. The Japanese Cube. I know me and you were talking about it. First Cube was Canadian, directed by Vincenzo Natal, I think. Natal. Uh, yeah, it was Canadian. Great movie. Yeah, the new Cube, I gave it a 6.5 as well. That's right where I was. North America, Mike. North America. Um, honestly, Cube, I know was made in. See, it's weird when you get to films and country of origin because sometimes they're like co-productions, sometimes like it might have been made in Canada, but it's an American produced film. I'm not sure if Cube is purely Canadian. Let's see if I can find out though. Yeah, it is actually Canadian. So yeah, but North American. Um, Meander was Cubish, kind of like that. Yeah, I like the movies like that. You know, not just even stuck inside of like some kind of contraption, but like um, I call them contained horror, but just movies where there's like a few characters in like a place, usually trapped. Um, I like Frozen is what I'd call a contained horror film, even though they're outside, they're contained to a ski lift. I've heard of Little Corey Gory before. Never seen it. The '90s were fucking wild, dude. I just watched this movie from '91. I've seen it before, but this cover doesn't do the movie justice because this cover is kind of ass. But just this movie's nuts, dude. I just like it. It's cool, man. 91 was a fun year. You had some cool stuff. Um, you had Mom, which is a fun movie. Uh, yeah, this In Search of Darkness '90s doc. Yeah, that should be fun. But probably going to wrap up here in a minute. The Gore trilogy would be a great pod episode. Gore horror, Gore erotica, and Goregasm. I've never even. I don't think I know any of those. I think. Wait, I might have seen Gore horror. Might have seen that one. But yeah, I don't know, boys. It's been about 2 hours, so I kind of wanted to stick to 2 hours. Got to go make food. Um, Subrosa Studios DVDs, Goofy Fun. What? Yeah, we could do a couple more volumes of shot on video too. We did. I think two. Did we do 2 volumes of shot on video? Yeah, because we did. We did Chester, the guy who did Black Devil, Doll from Hell, and Tales from the Quad Dead Zone. We did those, and then we did a loose. What's his name? Not Lucifer. The guy who did Ola Olong Ittenbach. Olog Ittenbach. That guy. I can't remember his first. His last name's Ittenbach. We did a couple of his films too. Olaf. I could not fucking think of the name. Yeah. Um, Next week, I don't know if I'll do it on Thursday. I could do another one next week, probably. Let me see what I'm looking at in terms of schedule. I mean, I could always do them really late at night, but um, I could do it on Thursday next week, actually. Maybe I will. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll do it next Thursday. Anyway, peace out, guys. I'm East Coast, so it's 8:22 right now for me. But yeah. So, all right, guys. See you next time. Thanks for joining. There was actually a lot of engagement. I appreciate that. See you guys next time. Peace.